and shit. It starts off behind the scene and shit.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scene.
Right. And
You know
then
what I'm saying? Just to let the fans know, good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Knicks fans out there from all walks of life. Freezie and I, we were in a very nostalgic mood talking about, the Honeymooners
and Zoom.
and the great Jackie Gleason, aka Ralph Cramden. Absolutely.
And he had the most Bensonhurst name you ever heard in your life.
Ralph Cramden.
Ed Norton.
Ralph Cramden. And the irony in that is for people from a certain age, grew up in New York, and a certain, ethnic makeup, Bensonhurst is not a place that we roll to.
No.
But in TV land, Bensonhurst is legendary because Ralph Cramden lived there.
Right.
And Ed Norton lived there. But in real life, you know what I'm saying? Ralph and Ed, you know what I mean?
Right.
But anyway, Knicks fans, salute.
Right. It reminds me of and so just real quick, and I know it's old school Knicks, but I just want to focus on the old school part real quick. It reminds me of when Alice didn't want Ralph and Ed to go on a fishing trip. And the car
Lord.
And she could take the hairpin and start the car.
And
every time Ralph made her mad, she could take the hairpin and stop the car. And Ralph would get in the car and try to crank it, and he could not get the car.
Yo, let me tell you something. It's funny because we, as kids, remember, when that show comes back into syndication, we're kids.
Right.
We're little kids. And just the interaction between man and woman, a lot of the times we learn from the idiot box.
Yeah.
And those moments right there, especially that moment when she took out the hairpin and Ralph was like, all right, Ed, get in the car, let's go.
Right.
And she's like, Ralph was like, you're not going.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm standing on my square, you're not going.
This is for the guys.
Right. And she would turn off the cars.
And it would make Ralph so mad. Like, why do you want to ruin this for us? Right?
Why do you want to ruin this moment?
Right.
But that another irony is that sometimes, and this is for all relationships, you need to be away from your spouse sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody needs to get away.
Right.
Ralph and Ed, they had the Raccoon Lodge.
Yeah.
And every now and again, the Raccoon Lodge, they piece their money together and they try and go somewhere. They try and be better than what they were 364 days.
Yeah.
And that was my thing with Alice and them. I'm like, yo, just let Ralph live. Ralph ain't got no other shorty on the outside. Ralph just want to go cut up, drink some beer,
right?
Act like the man outside, and you wouldn't even allow the man to be that.
Just one time. The dude drove a bus for a living.
Bus,
and you know what he put up on a daily basis. Right? You know. Can you imagine? So my grandfather drove the bus in the Bronx. Right, my grandfather drove the bus in the Bronx for all them million years, right? And so I know what he went through. People trying to get on the bus ain't want to pay. Then you got to stop the bus, and then people on the bus is tripping about this dude holding up the bus, and then the bus driver fault. They just let him ride, man. We in a rush. All these different things. Then the dude risking his job, and then it's all these different. Yeah.
This dude drove a bus, like, you know what I mean. So he just need a little something, you know what I mean, to tide him over, because his life is pretty much the same thing. You
every
know,
day.
Monday to Friday, you probably get up at 3:30.
Yeah.
Wife got to fix the lunch. Remember back in those days when your wife got up
Right.
with you and made your lunch
And made your lunch.
and
Right.
made your breakfast.
Yeah.
I know some of you ladies out there in the new world and so forth. Y'all don't appreciate that.
They
You don't want
feeling
to
that.
remember such things, but
Yeah.
those things you know what I mean. Our fathers, grandfathers, uncles, or whatever, especially for the men who actually deserved that kind of treatment,
Right. Who went to work every day.
who went to work every day. You know what I'm saying? There's something to be said about you had an understanding. You know what I mean? You know, those dudes, they ate first. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like when mom and grandma and stuff cooked or whatever, you already know you could be sitting there. It's like Thanksgiving when you sitting around there and your stomach is growling or whatever. No one is eating until, you know, Uncle Bill or whatever is there. You
Right.
know, so shout out to those people. You know,
That is
Nick Nation.
definitely a generation going by. That is
Oh,
definitely.
absolutely, Nick Nation. I know we digress, but it's how we come to the love of being Nick fans and
Right.
being Uncle Freezie and being AD. So
Yeah.
that's how that's how it
It,
starts.
it's how we get. It's how we get here. It's definitely how we get here. And so let me do this real quick. Icewater NYC. Thank you for the generous contribution. Icewater NYC is like, what's up, fellas? I see you, Icewater. What's good? And so it's one of those weird things, like those days that have gone by. You
Mhm.
know, it kind of reminds me of a time where kind of like a golden era of everything. Were things perfect during those times? No. And do we reminisce about those and reminisce and romanticize the era? Yes. Right? Is this era here different from that? Definitely. Right? And so AD, I was wanting to talk to you about this specifically because this topic came up earlier in the week. And I just wanted to get your opinion on it.
All right.
How do you feel about today's sensitive athletes? Like they have to have things their way. The coach can't even yell at them no more. You know, if the media says something, they go out, they take to social media and throw out I forget what they call it when they say something, but they really don't say nothing. Like they say something, but they don't say enough to get the um like when Mitchell Robinson was talking about getting more shots. Remember, Mitch
Mhm.
was like, I run up and down the floor all game and don't touch it, but you know I'm a team player.
Right.
Basically, Mitch was like, yo, I want more shots.
Here's all right. I'm gonna take the flip side of
Okay.
that. I feel how I feel about your point, your question, whatever, but I'm gonna take the flip side first.
Right.
I remember the great, Barry Bonds, son of Bobby Bonds,
Yeah.
the overall home run leader. I don't care what no one says. Back in ESPN's early day, in the early 90s, Barry was very high strung. Let's say this, or better yet, his image was projected as angry and high strung. Here he is, maybe at that time, even at that time, top three player playing with those old Pittsburgh, Pirates teams, those
Right.
Andy Van Slyke, Doug Draback, and all those guys that never won anything.
Right.
But
Bobby
those
Bonilla.
Bobby Bonilla, those are the teams that we always talk about teams. But he has this ESPN interview, maybe like a couple games before, and according to him, everything that he had mentioned as far as, in counter to what the reporter was asking him was edited. And when they broadcast the interview, it was totally slanted. So he decided that the next time you were going to interview me, the only way I'm going to interview with you is that you agree to have the entire interview.
Right.
Okay. I mentioned that, and I bring up that point as to say that for a very, very long time, the athlete was portrayed and still is portrayed to however the media feels like navigating the story.
Right.
You see, now we'll look at a KD, we'll look at, Draymond, Russ, or whoever, and they're not of that ilk of,
Right.
you're gonna take. The only players who was really doing that back then, who was fighting back then and throwing shots, was Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley, right.
Couple other guys here and there, I'm sure their names will come to me. But as far as on that level, pushing back. So, to your question, yeah, the athletes today are way more sensitive and way more argumentative, and it's more of a partnership today. But it's because of a lot of different factors. You know what I mean? When we look at basketball, for most of our lives of watching basketball, you came up through the college ranks.
Right.
And for most of those years, 90% of those years, 99% of those years, maybe even, high schoolers could not enter the draft. Colleges made zillions of dollars on these guys and then their imagery and so forth. And they didn't get not near or nothing unless it was under the table. And if you found out, he was going to be in a big scandal and he would never play again. That kind of thing.
Over stuff like $500. $500 would ruin your life.
Yeah, $500 would ruin your life. And God forbid you should be seen in a car that you look like you can't afford.
Right.
The
double standard. The double standard,
because what will happen is the school gets a penalty. I know they got that death penalty nonsense or whatever, but what's really a death penalty when you've already made billions and billions of dollars?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you fast forward into, today's game, today's athlete, all of those things are in the mix as to what has manifested today with today's athlete. And sometimes it looks, it looks hard. It looks, when you got one guy calling another guy the worst leader in team sports and, things of that nature, you feed into the media narrative. So a guy like Draymond is going to be like, whoa, Charles, what are you talking about? You were a player. You were this, that, and the third, or whatever. How come your view is like that? But here's the rest of the backstory with that.
Right.
So the days of Bobby Knight and Hubie Brown, just ripping players apart, things of that nature, those days are over.
Yeah, but there was a clear double standard though, because these guys could do. It was the old boys club. You know what I'm saying? Bobby Knight could do, and Bobby Knight took doo-doo out of the toilet and brought it to the press conference and slammed it on the table and said, "We played like this." Because I said this last time. Because remember, he said he cussed in the press conference. And everybody was like, "Oh, Bobby Knight cursed." And then the next press conference, he actually bought some feces and slammed it on the table. We played like this.
Yep.
But if a young kid would have said that back then.
That's how big, a coach, especially in collegiate athletics, for a long period of time was.
Right.
You larger than life.
Right.
Bobby Knight. Go down, Newt Rockney, go down the list of all these coaches, especially in college, you know, John Wooden.
Bobby Bowden from at Florida State.
But there's no bigger Wooden than John. I mean, there's no bigger winner than John Wooden. With all these guys. So imagine you've given your institution 12 or 10 championships within 12 years or something like that.
Right. Bear Bryant. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, and, you know, space, I now walk on water.
Right.
I'm Jesus to y'all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When I enter the building, the door should just magically.
Harps are playing.
You know what I'm saying? Harps are playing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I should be walking in, writing my name.
What's his name at Syracuse? What's the coach at Syracuse?
Boeheim.
Jim Boeheim can do whatever he wants at Syracuse.
Yeah, because he got them that chip.
Yeah. He could do whatever. The same thing, Joe Paterno at Penn State. Anything could go on at Penn State. You're not going to do anything on Joe Paterno.
And anything did.
And anything did. That was my point. That was the point. That's the reason why I brought it up.
My cousin went to Penn State. We used to call him I think the dude that was doing all of that, and mind you, I'm not making light of this situation.
Right.
But we used to call my cousin Sandusky. I think the dude's name was Sandusky.
Yeah.
Something like to that effect. But anything can go on in those situations. Why? Because of the money that's generated when you are a successful program, and when you've gotten to the mountaintop 10 times in 12 years, like, what do you say to me? Nothing.
Right. Like the dude that coached Oklahoma football. What's his name? I forget what this dude's name.
Switzer.
Barry Switzer. It was like, Coach, what's the game plan? What's the game plan, Coach? Well, we're gonna hang up 50 by halftime, and we're gonna see what these young boys got. And you're like, oh my God.
Yo, Barry Switzer, let me tell you something. Because I was a Cowboys fan back in those days, in the early 70s. So, but fast forward, when Barry Switzer gets there, you know, Jimmy was the coach and all of that. So when they're having a press conference the day of, and Jerry, you know, if you know Jerry, especially back then, you know, youthful Jerry, him and Barry sitting side to side, and Barry goes, yeah, you know, when Jerry called me about the job like 2 weeks ago, you know, Jerry turned around and Jerry looked at Barry. There's like, Barry, I only talked to you about the job two days ago.
Right.
You know, Jerry already knew, you know, Barry already knew he fired, you know, Jenny like 2 weeks ago. He been had this job.
Right.
So they had to clean it up right there in the press conference. But Barry helped him win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did.
You can't take that away from him. But Barry in college was a monster.
He was a monster. And so the reason why I bring this up with you, AD, is because a lot of those dudes, the kids back then were suppressed. Right? The personalities drove the day. Like your Dean Smith, your Lefty Drizzells, your Bobby Knights, your John Woodens, your Lou Conaseccas, your Jimmy Boeheims, your Jimmy Johnsons at Miami. Their personalities. Thank you, boss. The personalities drove the day, and the kids had no say. Because I remember when Isaiah Thomas chose Indiana. There was a small article. There was a small article in I think the Sporting News. You remember the Sporting News?
Mm-hmm.
This is before the USA Today got big. You remember? Yeah, yo. So for those that don't know,
actually, I think USA Today came out before Sporting News.
It's not US. It's another newspaper. I can't remember what it is, but it came out in the early '80s, and then by the time '90 was here, Sports Illustrated and all the other ones was playing second fiddle to it. I can't remember the name of the paper.
I think it was the Sporting News.
Was it the Sporting?
It was the Sporting News because they were only around for like, I want to say, was it like 7 years maybe?
Okay.
They weren't around very long. Maybe I think I remember the guy who was the chief editor, because he used to be he was an ESPN personality a lot.
Okay.
I remember that, but it was dedicated, everything was in it was sports. It was before its time, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
But once the internet, see, the thing is, once the internet came into fruition, dead.
You don't need it. Yeah, you don't need it.
Dead.
Why wait 8 days for a thing that happened yesterday?
Dead.
You know what I'm saying?
That is, you know what? That makes for an interesting topic. Like, remember when, in the early stages of the internet, when most of these places did not know how to monetize,
right,
how to reap the benefits from that. And then once they got it, boom, we don't need you. We don't need you. We don't need you. Dead.
Right. And it's AD, I ain't gonna lie to you. We're at the cusp of that right now. Like legit, I can have content that gets monetized. I don't have to go to marketing firms. I don't have to do any of that stuff. Right? You and I can legit do a thing. And if it's good, we can get paid directly. We don't have to go to journalism school. We don't have to broadcast from a network. You know what I'm saying? All we have to do is have a good product, and it's direct to consumer. You know what I'm saying? But the point I was getting at though is when Isaiah Thomas committed to Indiana, the buzz was like, does Isaiah Thomas go to DePaul? Isaiah Thomas is from Chicago, Illinois, right?
Right.
And he wanted to play for his hometown Chicago Bulls.
Who was the Ray Meyer was the coach of DePaul.
Yep. Curly Perm. Remember Curly Perm?
Right. And then his son, I think Joey, became coach. Joey Meyer, his name is something like that.
Something like that. That's like 20 years later.
But Ray was there. Here's a name that I'm sure you haven't thought of this name in all this time. Center. Dallas Comedies.
Good God Almighty, bro! That came with dust, cobwebs, and mothballs.
Look, let me tell you. Historically, I've always been more so the fan of the big man, because when the big man is the big man, the big man is the big man, and everything else gets out the way.
And the game looks better to me, in my opinion, when the big man is dominating.
Yes. And I thought this kid was going to be, because he was, I think, 6'9", 6'10". And I was like, yo, this dude has a chance. But he was like a wave of these guys that just did not have it to make it in the pro game.
Right.
Dallas Comedies. Oh, my God. I haven't thought of that name in 30 plus years.
30 plus years. Almost 40. Almost 40.
Yeah, 40. Because he was there. He was there in the mid to early 80s.
Yes. Back when the March Madness was an event on CBS. March Madness was a thing.
Yeah. March Madness, they lost it. It's funny with business, because, and especially capitalism, because you start going against yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? In the sense of the moment, and don't get me wrong, I want the guys to go make their money. But the moment guys started going to the NBA early, when you couldn't stop it anymore, you lost something from the 3 and 4 year student star.
Right. That
you knew they'd be back next year.
Right.
See what I'm saying? That's not happening this year. You win the college tournament, even if you don't win, if you're projected to be what you're projected to be, you're out. One and done.
Right. I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. I think that I think where this thing turned the absolute corner and went completely downhill is the LeBron James draft. Right? The LeBron James draft. So there is life before LeBron James and life after. Right? Because think about the Richard Jeffersons versus Shane Battier. Think about think about this. Think about Len Bias versus Olin Polynice. One dude at Maryland, the other one at Virginia. Olin Polynice talked trash to Len Bias when they won a game. That rivalry stewed all summer. little snippet interviews.
Olin could play.
Oh yeah.
Big Haitian gentleman from New York. Olin could play, but Olin was rough. You know, he had no polish to his offensive game.
Yeah.
You know, he's like that kid in the schoolyard that you need that fifth person to come play. And once he start playing, you're like, oh my God, what is he doing out here?
Why is there anybody else?
Yeah. He done fouled out. If there was a clock, if there was a you could, fouling, how many foul calls? He done fouled out 100 times.
100 times.
Yeah, Olin was kind of like that. He
was an heir apparent to Ralph Sampson. Another thing that, like, things that are lost on history. Ralph Sampson is one of those names lost to history because since Ralph Sampson came along, the athletes have been getting bigger, stronger, faster. Right? The first time you saw a dude 7'4" run like that, you were like, oh, did this dude just cross up Kareem and go to the rim and dunk? Yes. Yeah. This dude ISO Kareem Abdul-Jabbar went left, and dunked on Kareem. And you thought this dude was a video game, but this is before video games had even taken off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is before home consoles. This is before
bird magic.
Yeah.
Yo, me and my dudes, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? If kids today, if they game out and they're able to receive some payment for it, which from what I understand, they can't help it because they get it from us.
Right.
You know, we were the forerunners because my squad in that early bird versus Magic was Phoenix.
Right.
For one reason. Tom Chambers had a double pump move from the wing.
You couldn't stop it.
You could not. It was the same move that he dunked on Mark Jackson. When he hit Mark with the knees in Mark's face.
Yeah.
It was that they took that signature move and made it. They took that move and made it into his signature move for that game. And you could not, if you needed a bucket and he was on the wing, he would be floating through dudes.
Yeah.
Bang.
And you couldn't stop it.
Couldn't stop it. Could not stop it.
And once it got to that launch pad area, Chambers would just take off and do that dunk, the double pump. And Phoenix had the ugliest uniforms. You had the purple, the all purple jersey with the orange writing and white trim. Yeah. And you were like, what is this?
That's a dude who's lost in the NBA annals as far as just being a good player.
And consistent.
Like Tom Chambers, he's not gonna go down as an NBA champion, and maybe he was on the bench somewhere at the end of his career that I don't remember. But in the heart of his career, with those Phoenix teams and such, he was an absolute load every night. He didn't fit that, that big white boy that can't play.
No, he was definitely not.
He's not slow-footed Larry Bird. No. He's not that. You know what I mean? He's not that. He will absolutely bang it on you. As we said, ask Mark Jackson, he will absolutely give it to you. but he could shoot. He could post up. He's like he's more he's way more athletic than Dirk.
Oh,
Ever was.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, way more athletic than Dirk ever was.
Yeah,
but he's definitely one of those names that, you know, when they talk about great power forwards and stuff, they never mention Tom Chambers.
It's a crime too, by the way.
Yeah, because Chambers could really play.
Tom Chambers could really, and then the thing. So I'm looking at.
I bet you he wasn't drafted in the fantasy draft.
No, of course not.
I'm still looking for that dude that drafted Chris Childs. I need to know who the name of that dude. We need to have him on the show.
No, we need to flog him. We need to take him out back.
But we need to tell him. But we need to tell him why.
Yeah.
You know, this is why, because you obviously, you know, you're missing a couple of millions of hours of basketball tape, you know, before you get to Charlie Ward. And that's no disrespect to Charlie Ward, because Charlie's a former Knick and we went to the finals with him. But there's no way in hell Charlie Ward deserved to be on that list.
No.
And especially not the fifth pick. Oh my God. I almost earled.
Bro, and you know what? And if you did, I would say, hey man, listen.
You know how you feel about when you hear young core? You wanna
oh my God.
Me and Freezie was talking about this before we came on, and Freezie is like, yo, if I hear about young core again, I'm gonna rob a bank.
Bro, I swear to God, if I hear another Knicks fan say, but the young core, man, if y'all don't get the hell out of it, bro, every 3 years we have this conversation and we act like we never had it, which is the worst thing. Intellectually, intellectually, that's the most stymieing conversation. You just can't have the young core conversation and then
remember when we thought Frank Williams was something?
Him and Brian Cook. You remember Brian Cook?
Cook
at Illinois. They had a pick and roll combo. Brian Cook and Frank Williams. Brian Cook wound up going to the Lakers. We wound up getting Frank Williams. Right?
Yep.
Oh my God. Oh God. AD, sometimes, bro, I swear it's like somebody is piercing me in my side.
You can't make that. And this is why when I come on different podcasts and things of that nature, you know, and I hear the bemoaning of, you know, the youth, and I'm like, well, you cats are just, we have failed to understand. It's not like we want to eat our young, but you got to look at it like every team's young can be your young too, can be yours.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why it is a draft. You know, because you may have noticed a dude that you really wanted, and because of the draft, you were unable to get this dude. So maybe a couple of years later, you know, you're able to make a trade or a free agency or whatever. Yeah. How do you think the Yankees were successful in the 90s? They had their young core, but they also traded for Cecil Fielder and Darryl Strawberry and signed a broken down Doc Gooden
and a Ruben Sierra.
Ruben wasn't on the championship team, but you see what I'm saying? They got all these other pieces, and to get these pieces, they got rid of the young core.
Yep. The dude, what's the dude that played third base? The dude they brought up as a shortstop, they moved him to third base, and then inserted Derek Jeter at shortstop.
Curtis.
Chad Curtis, I think that's his name.
Well, Chad Curtis was a left fielder, but you're talking about, I know who you're talking about, but we traded for him. I think Scott Brocious.
No. I'm talking about the prospect. I'm talking about the prospect that came up as a shortstop. before Jeter.
That might have been. Oh man! Wow, I'm getting in my Yankee bag now. I believe that was Randy Velarde.
Was it Randy Velarde?
That was Randy Velarde or was that Jose Vizcaino? No, I think that was Randy Velarde. Yeah, I think that was Randy Velarde at that time. Or they might have been another, but because we had a few dudes. We had a dude named Robertson that got hurt.
Yep. Yep.
At shortstop, he was supposed to be a phenom, but once he had gotten hurt, he'd never been that guy. But my point is, we're rambling, is that you're able to build championships. You know, one through whatever is not homegrown.
Right.
Sometimes you got to use your homegrown talent in order to go get that other piece.
Yeah. The example is Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls did exactly that. Once they had Jordan, Pippen, and Grant, right? And then the other pieces rotated. Like their point guard, like people forgot about the point guards, right? People were like, yo, but Ron Harper was the point guard. Ron Harper wasn't the first point guard. Paxson wasn't the first point guard. BJ Armstrong wasn't the first point guard with Jordan. How about Milwaukee Bucks cast off Craig Hodges?
Who was Craig Hodges? If you remember Craig, even with Milwaukee, Craig was a good player. Craig just became more so of a spacer, spot up guy because for what Chicago needed.
Because of what Chicago needed.
Craig was better than that.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Like literally, Craig was better than that. Better player.
And for those that don't remember, hey, Hinton Murphy is in the building. For those that don't remember, the Milwaukee Bucks under Don Nelson used to be a breeding ground for scoring guards. Milwaukee, for some reason, the Milwaukee Bucks could take a guy, like the same guy, think about the same guy could go to the Knicks and be a bench player forever. But he would go, but they say if that guy, a twist of fate, he would go to Milwaukee, they would turn him into a scorer.
They would turn him into a multifaceted, you know what it is? And this is to his discredit, Don Nelson. Don Nelson has no use for the big.
None.
It's like D'Antoni with defense. He's got no use for it.
Right.
To him, it's just something that you do. Same thing with Don Nelson. The big, he could never win because he never, like the guys, the Pressey, the Moncriefs, oh man, some of these
the Vinnie Johnsons. How about Vinnie Johnson?
John Lucas that was there with them. There were a lot of guys that were small. Like he would go out and get Jack Sikma when Jack Sikma was already past his prime.
Right. He would shoot that thing, no way. He would make you so mad, bro.
Yeah. It's like, and they were one of those teams, you know, for, you know, a lot of basketball fans who, you know, who love the game and so forth. In the 80s, Milwaukee was one of those tough teams because I remember when they got Terry Cummings.
Yeah.
From out of the Clippers. The Clippers was at the time because Terry Cummings was on the Clippers, and the Clippers were the San Diego Clippers.
Yep.
At the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when they pulled that move, I remember going, the Knicks are trading for Pat Cummings and Milwaukee's getting Terry Cummings.
Oh God, Pat Cummings. I can just jump out this window right now.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, you see what I'm saying? Like some of these things, it's like it never ends. It's been happening since the beginning. I remember that. The Milwaukee had also their small forward was my dude that was in White Man Can't Jump, Marcus Johnson.
Right. So
they got Marcus Johnson. Then they make this trade for Terry Cummings. So they got Cummings, Marcus Johnson, Pressey, Moncrief, and that's like their small core. What's my dude? Pierce, Ricky Pierce off the bench.
Pierce. Yep, Ricky Pierce.
Pierce off the bench. They had, it was one of those things. I think they beat Boston one year in the early 80s. Or was it Philly?
That was that 85? I think that feels like 80.
Might have been like 80. I think the year they beat Boston, I believe was the year that Philly wins the championship in 83.
83. Okay.
Right. Yeah. 82 was one of those. It was one of those. But they had, and then they traded for what's my guy? Oh wow, his name is skipping me right now. It shouldn't. He used to be with the Detroit Pistons. Big, great big feet. I think he has the biggest feet on record in the NBA.
I know who you're talking about because he used to do the Miller Lite. He used to do the Miller Lite commercials.
Like size 24 double E.
Yeah, so weird.
Crazy. Oh, quick! They showed a picture of that man's feet. Oh,
Bob Lanier.
Yes, they get Bob Lanier at the end of his career too.
Yeah.
Bob Lanier, another.
Oh, guess what? They had Tiny Archibald at the end of his career.
At the end of their careers, Milwaukee. Yeah, Milwaukee's one of those in the '80s. We're talking about Milwaukee in the '80s.
Yeah,
those teams.
Mike Dunleavy.
Yeah, like I remember like yesterday they trade for Terry Cummings, and I'm like, we're trading for Pat Cummings,
right?
And they're getting Terry Cummings.
Oh my God, I'm so frustrated.
Remember when your power forward could be 6'7", 6'8"? That was Terry Cummings. Terry Cummings was like a legit 6'8", 6'8.5". The Knicks end up getting him like 10, 12 years later at the end of his career. He was like part of the whole Buck Williams and the old quartet big men that we had on that on that team. That's
Herb Williams, Buck Williams, Terry Cummings. Yeah.
He was a part of that. But young Terry Cummings, I remember that. I was like, oh my God. And they just could never do it because with his style of play, Nelson's style of play, he never like prioritized like what the bigs did.
Right.
Right. How much you needed a big. Like I said, Jack Sigma, Alton. No disrespect to Alton Lister and stuff like that.
Because he was good in his day.
Yeah, but by the time they got him, he was washed. By the time they got Bob Lanier is one of the great centers of all time.
Right.
Think Kareem when he had the left-handed skyhook.
Yeah.
The left-handed version that was like, when I saw footage of him doing that, that looked impossible from his angle. Kareem's look, I guess maybe just because I'm right-handed, I can visualize Kareem going bang, bang.
Yeah, because it's humans it's easy. For Americans, let me say that for Americans, we view stuff left to right. So when you see Kareem catch it, and start their momentum going left to right, and then that right hand go up in the air. It looked effortless. It looked like the most beautiful thing you ever saw. But then when you saw somebody going right to left, the opposite way, and then the other hand, you're like, what is this? This would look like a stork.
Mm-hmm. But back to what we were on young core. We just got to, as Knicks fans, just come to like a realization that there's other ways to build a successful championship squad besides hoping and praying. Is he the one? Like how for centuries, black people look for the Messiah. Is he the one? Is he gonna be the one? Is he gonna be one to lead us out?
Yeah.
That's what the nicknames are right now. Right. Is he the one? Is he the one we keep on? Is he the one? No, he's not the one. For you guys that were Gallinari, remember, Gallinari got hurt in Knicks Summer League in his first game, I think like 7 minutes into the game.
Hurt his back. Remember the back injury?
And he was never no good for the Knicks.
Right.
After that. Remember that? D'Antoni goes, he's the greatest shooter I've ever seen.
Yeah. Now, mind you, he had just broken up with Steve Nash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said Gallinari is the greatest shooter he's ever seen.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think he was right. I think the Knicks thought they were getting Larry Bird.
Absolutely.
That's what
They
I thought.
They thought they were getting, and it's no knock to Gallinari because he's managed to, this is what, 12, 13 years later, he's managed to stay, in the league after numerous injuries, Knick fans.
Right.
Let's remember that. And it started with us when he hurt his back like 7 minutes into the first game.
And that's classic Knicks luck.
Yeah, and that first season, if you remember, that it was like he kept going back and forth, off the injured. He played had a couple of minutes. I think I remember him against Melo that year. He had a couple of big moments against Melo, and Knick fans, because that was the same year that they're going to complete the Melo trade. And Knick fans, because he had a couple of decent moments against a future Hall of Famer, we thought, okay. And we're still there today with the mindset. We gotta get out of that. We really do. We gotta stop seeing the Franks of the world, overseas, and they have a great game against whoever who played in NBA, and we run with it. We absolutely run. We expected for Frank to come back, and I remember to come back and to make such a leap. I remember the dude came back. I think he put on because Frank physically fits the part, right? And he put on 10 pounds of muscle or whatever, and Mills during a press conference goes, "Oh, he's way more confident now. He's walking around the facility with his shirt off."
Right, I remember that.
How does that determine if you think that this dude is it?
Steve Mills, Steve Mills, I love you.
Yeah,
I love you, Steve Mills. That's all I'm gonna say to that.
I done seen a whole bunch of fat dudes in South Beach rip their shirts off. You know what I'm saying? Walking around telling people, "Yo, I'm good. This is it." Why? Because look at all of these breezies I got here, and my shirt is off. That doesn't make him, you know what I'm saying, a Superman. He's still a fat dude.
AD, I ain't gonna lie to you. I got a couple of Italian brothers, not blood, but by relation. Like legit 2 Italian brothers I love with all my heart, right? Mm-hmm. Like I met them, and we connected. This is like 20 years ago, bro. Yeah, and so they don't have what you call the Stallone build. They have the pasta build.
But they look like Tony Soprano.
Yeah, they look like they take their shirt off and look like melted ice cream. That's what their body type is. They look like a pile of melted ice cream, right? But you can't tell them. You can't tell that. You cannot sway their confidence, man. You just can't. You just can't. Right? You just can't. It's ironically, one dude's named Tony and the other one's, imagine that, an Italian named Tony. But anyway, but and the other one's name is Rico, right? Tony and Rico, they take their shirts off. Bro, he's like, ew, man, God, Jesus, put your shirt on. And they're like, I ain't worried about you looking at me, Uncle Freezie. I'm worried about the ladies. You know what I'm saying?
I'm worried about the ladies.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the ladies.
Man. Yeah, man. It's one of those things, man. Like, and so, but to your point though about this young core thing, bro. The young core thing doesn't bother me as much as people pretending like this young core thing is a new invention. It's not a new invention, bro. It's not. The Knicks had a young core in '85. The Knicks had Darryl Walker, Trent Tucker, Rory Sparrow, Pat Ewing, Gerald Wilkins. Yo, that all 5 of them, those were young players starting in 83 through 85. That's a young core.
That's a young core.
Right. And then when you add additional pieces, say the subsequent years, you add Johnny Newman, Kenny Walker. I forget the point guard name, but there was a young point guard before Mark Jackson. Let me see. I need to find the 1986 New York Knicks roster. Let me see. 1986.
Well, we drafted, if you remember, with Ewing, his running mate from Georgetown. We actually drafted Michael Jackson.
Right.
He never made it out of training camp, though.
No, I'm not talking about him. No, I don't
know if he was talking about him. He never made it out of training camp.
And he looked like an elementary teacher anyway. He wasn't though.
I mean, but the thing is, when you see that there's an abundance of young talent every couple of years, that means one thing: there's been a turnover in management.
Right.
See what I'm saying? Is
it McKinley Singleton? Is that the guy?
McKinley Singleton. Okay, his name rings a bell.
Because he wasn't getting run. Because Rory Sparrow got run.
Right? Rory Sparrow was the starting point guard. Right. Going into 1987, I believe, 86, 87, he was the starting point guard. He started like the first 2 games, and then they cut him.
Right.
But again, they had that young core.
Okay.
You know, look at that. They have Mark Jackson, and the following year they draft Rod Strickland. Now, don't get me wrong, talent.
And then the following year they drafted another point guard to 80.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Talent-wise, they maximize what you got at the value, because I think they drafted Mark at 18 and Rod at 19.
The following
year. You don't have a plan in what you're going to do. You don't know what this looks like long term. You don't have more than a year with that. In any situation, you don't have more than a year with that, because this is where young core can then go rotten right in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
Because like I've said, how long had the Clippers in the 90s have a young core?
Oh my God.
In the 80s, they had a young core. The Nets in the 80s through the 90s, they had a young core. They kept having young cores.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not gonna be that guy. We got way more busts than they are of guys who are legit shot callers and part of NBA championships. That's just the nature of the game. That's just the numbers.
Let me make you laugh. One of my friends in real life was drafted in that 1989 draft. I don't know if you remember this name or not, but he tried to sell me some cars one time. And I sat down and talked, because I didn't know him. I knew he was an NBA player, but I didn't know him. And eventually we wound up being friends. A dude named Tom Hammonds.
Yeah.
You remember Tom Hammonds?
Tom Hammonds, Georgia Tech?
Georgia Tech, yeah. I didn't know him when he was a player. He had a car dealership in my town. Mm-hmm. And he was real slick and savvy. Oh, he's savvy, bro. He a salesman, bro. But what he didn't know was I'm in sales. I was in sales at the time too. So we had so I heard he kept hitting me with all the cliche angles, and I was like, man, you good at this. He's like, yeah, I'm good at everything, and I was like, I could tell. And then we just started having this conversation, and then the next thing you know, he's a friend, like a homeboy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Tom Hammonds. He 6'9", 6'10". Yeah, he a big man, bro. Yeah, man, a big man, man.
All you
But
doing is looking. All you doing is looking up, going, "Don't you? Like, why don't you play basketball?
yeah. Like, yeah.
Why the hell are you here selling cars?"
Right, right, right.
Tom Hammonds. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
him.
man.
He was
Tom
pre.
Hammonds.
He was pre Lethal Weapon.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
Lethal Weapon? He was pre Lethal Weapon.
Right
Yeah.
before them. Right
Yep.
before them.
Right before.
Because I think Brian Oliver might have got there right when he was there, and then Dennis Scott, and then Kenny Anderson.
Yeah.
Right? And then after them it's crazy because Tom Hammonds. I think Tom Hammonds was there right when, or Georgia Tech had a point guard named Mark Price, who's probably the most slept on small guard of all. I remember in the newspaper there was a newspaper war, right? I mean, not newspaper war, but war in the newspaper. Who is the better point guard right now, Isaiah Thomas or Mark Price? And for people that don't remember, Isaiah Thomas by far was the better point guard, right? But Isaiah Thomas had this hamstring injury that was hampering him. Y'all remember when Isaiah Thomas had his whole thigh wrapped up with tape? Isaiah had his entire thigh wrapped with an ace bandage. I don't know if is footage of that anywhere. But
yeah,
but Mark Price gave Isaiah Thomas the business for 3 quarters and 3/4 of the fourth quarter, and then he got hurt. And the Pistons wound up winning the game. And Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars were like,
Mark could play. Mark could shoot. He could run that pick and roll and so forth. You know.
Yeah.
But look at the size of those two guys. Both of those guys are Isaiah's 6'1", Mark maybe the same height.
Right.
And they were the generals, but Isaiah was just another type of general.
Yeah.
You know, another type of general. And I don't care the backlash that he got when he walked off the court and you see him kind of like ducking his head down and whatever, you know, doesn't shake hands, you know. I want to remove Isaiah the player versus Isaiah the businessman in general.
Executive. Yeah.
The executive. So for Knicks fans, you know, take your Tums, take your relax aids or whatever. We talk about the player.
Right.
Dominant. Could just rip you apart. Just was that dude. I remember after they traded Rick Mahorn, or they let Rick Mahorn go to free agency. Remember that the NBA expansion free agency, and Rick Mahorn comes back and they play him again. That man two-pieced Rick Mahorn. What?
Yep.
And Rick is standing there. Rick is looking at him like, "Come on, dude, I can't fight you." Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know Rick Mahorn's fat rump was out of shape too. Rick Mahorn's fat rump is out of shape again.
Yeah. He's standing there like, you know, I know I'm on this team right here, but I really want to be with you guys. Like, I can't hit you, I can't fight you, but that was who he was. Like, just dog.
Right.
The term dog starts with that man.
Starts with him. Yep.
Yeah. He allowed them, as the player, he allowed them. You see, I'm not big on symbolisms. And he allowed them to take something from his greatness when it came to the NBA Dream Team.
Right.
You see? And he allowed them to shape the narrative. For me, you don't have to invite me. If I'm Isaiah Thomas, you don't have to invite that. That's no more validation to me.
Right.
There's no way that Chris Leitner could be on the Dream Team and I'm not.
Right.
Chris Mullin could be on the Dream Team and I'm not.
Right.
You know, You can go down the list of some of these dudes, and he's not. And he allowed them when the whole thing was going on, even to today. He still is in like an apologetic kind of, well, nah.
Yeah. No,
like,
man. Let's talk about that real quick, man, because I think the dream team. I think the dream team established a certain thing, and I think it's very understated. For one, the friendship between Patrick Ewing and Larry Bird that was formed at those dream team practices is one that deserves, in my opinion, a documentary in its own. Right?
Yeah, from what I understand, they became like real good friends,
like best friends almost.
Yeah.
Right. And so what happened is people don't look at the timestamp. So prior to the dream team, prior to the '92 Olympics, the Knicks had always been a good story. Pat Ewing leaving the dream team, and then that '92-'93 season that followed, the Knicks became legit NBA title contenders. Right?
He got something.
Right. Because think about it, from about 86, 87, those two seasons, we weren't ready. We were like adding pieces. Right. Occasionally we'll win some big games or make some noise. Right. But clearly the young team in the East at that time clearly was the up and coming Cleveland Cavaliers. Clearly at that time. Jordan, and think about this, I'm saying 86, 87. 87 is when the Bulls got Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. Right?
We were right there with them. I'm not gonna give Cleveland that. I'm not gonna give Cleveland that totally, because man for man, Cleveland probably was a better team. But as a team, I thought that we were better than them. Although the records didn't. I think because the best talent out of both squads is Ewing.
Okay, over Brad Daugherty, yes. Yeah. And no, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying yes. But then when you go the next four players, they all belong to Cleveland.
Okay. Their power forward was Nance. Who do you want, Nance or Oakley?
Oakley wasn't there.
In 87, Oakley's there.
No, Oakley didn't get there till 89.
Oh, okay. You're talking about. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. My bad. Okay.
Yeah, Oakley didn't get there till 89. We traded Cartwright for Oakley in 89, right? Or was it 89, 90? Something, 80, something like that.
No, he's there before that. He's there, I think, 80. Yeah, because him and Rod Strickland essentially on the team the same time, because they made that trade during the draft. That might have been in one day, and outside of them getting Larry Johnson, Chris Childs, and Allen Houston on the same day, that might have been probably their biggest talent acquisition on one day. Right? Because they made the call. The Bulls gave them, right. That wasn't even their pick. That was the Bulls pick, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Flip-flop or something like that, but that was the Bulls' pick. So the Knicks got Oakley in the pick for Cartwright.
Right.
And that was Al Bianchi who made that move. But
summer of 1988 is when it happened. The draft of 1988. Yeah. So
who do you take, Nance or Oakley?
I'm still taking Nance at that time. I'm still taking Larry Nance at that time, and I think Hot Rod Williams is better than Kiki Vandeweghe at that time. Kiki Vandeweghe didn't get there till what, 89? So I'll say I'll take Hot Rod Williams over Johnny Newman. The Bomb Squad era Knicks. Right before that, right at the very beginning, of the bounce
He's better than Kenny Walker. Well, we talk about as a four.
He's better than Louis Orr.
He's better than Louis Orr. He's better than Kenny Walker. But all right, and shooting guard, they got Ron Harper. We don't have a shooting guard that can match with that. But I'll take our point guard. So out of the five,
our shooting guards at the time were Gerald Wilkins.
Exactly.
Henderson. What's the Henderson dude we got from the Celtics? Gerald Henderson.
Gerald.
We got from the Celtics. Yeah. So they have, but their shooting guards are not just Ron Harper. Remember, their shooting guards are Del Curry.
Yeah, right.
Ron Harper, Craig Elo.
But you could stop. You could stop at Ron Harper.
because they better. This is better. Right.
Yeah, you can stop at Ron Harper. He's better. But I'll take Mark Jackson over Price.
You'll take Mark Jackson and Rod Strickland over Mark Price, Kevin Johnson.
Yes.
And who's the other? They had one other point guard. I can't remember who it is.
Yes.
Okay.
For one reason and one reason only. Mark was a phenomenal floor general. Mark is a phenomenal floor general.
AD, I'm gonna say this, and this is probably gonna be the most controversial thing that I've ever said on Blorange Tears, but I'm gonna say it right now.
Oh my God, here we go. And that's on a list of controversial things.
I think Mark Jackson is the greatest floor general in the half court that I've ever seen. I think in the half court setting, I think he's the best floor general maybe ever. In the open court, like 94 feet, of course it's Magic Johnson. Right? But when it comes to getting people shot, bro, people ate with Mark Jackson. The only thing is he wouldn't keep his fat rump in shape.
Well, all right. Here's the thing though. In the half court, you need a shot. See what I'm saying?
I know where you're going. Okay. All right. I see where you're going.
You see what I'm saying? Because it breaks down. Yeah. And if I'm guarding Mark Jackson, I'm pressuring him I'm gonna try and pressure him because he wants to dictate and navigate where the ball is gonna go for a certain play and blah 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 blah. Right? So he's not necessarily concerned about his particular jump shot.
His own shot, yeah.
His own shot.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So for me, when it comes to the half court point guards, I like a point guard that can shoot. You know, in just that part of the game. Overall, I'm taking him because he's gonna dictate pace.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like he's not gonna, if you remember, which I'm sure you do, when he got to the team, all of a sudden, Ewing went from looking like a Pinto to a Ferrari. Right. It's like people forgot that he could run.
Right.
And they needed someone to play that style. And all of a sudden,
Hubie Brown. Thank you, Hubie Brown, for slowing up Pat Ewing's career. Thank you, Hubie Brown.
Dude, he literally made Ewing a 4.
Yes.
He made Ewing a power forward for your favorite Knick of all time, or your second favorite Knick of all time.
Bill Cartwright.
Mr. Wide Load himself.
Yes.
You have to be, as much as I hear Hubie Brown now, over the years, and I enjoy him immensely, right? When you hear him, you learn this, that, and the third.
Right.
Dude, a blind man could have seen that you don't make Patrick Ewing into a power forward just because you got Tree Rollins and Kevin Willis in Atlanta. You got this one and this one in Houston. You got this one and this one there. You have to know your talent that you got, and you were lucky enough however you believe the draft to go, to get this once in a lifetime kind of commodity. And what do? You alienate him and you want to make him into a power forward. I remember when Ewing got hurt one game and Hubie Brown turned his back on Ewing.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Ewing is
happening on more than one occasion.
Yeah,
I remember this. And so the reason why I hate the Sixers, the Philadelphia 76ers, and when I say I hate them, bro, when I say I hate them, I don't mean it like, you know how casually nowadays people be like, yo, I hate the Sixers, man. Oh, I hate cheeseburgers. You know, people, I hate such and such chicken sandwich. Nah, bro. I hate the Sixers, bro. And it's because they used to bully us. Like they legit, oh my bro.
They took pride. They were like what Boston and KG and Pierce used to do to us, but with more class.
Yeah. I hated Boston because Boston always had more talent than us. But I hated Philadelphia because Moses Malone would like let you catch the entry, let somebody catch the entry pass, and when they shoot, you just go upside their head. And the cats would run up and then see it's Moses, and then oh man, I'm sorry, Mr. Malone. Man, come on, man, god damn it. I hate the Sixers, bro. I legit. I forget the power forward, the white guy they had, right? They would put him on everybody we had. Anybody that got hot.
Was that Bobby Jones?
Was it Bobby Jones? I can't remember.
Jones or Mark Ivoroni.
Yes.
Jeez, it is names. Guys, actually Mark Ivoroni.
Yes. Oh my God. You talking about the big guy out of North Carolina, Ivoroni.
Yeah,
and I think his son played at North Carolina also. But yeah, oh my God, they would legit. Whoever was hot for us, they would just put him on that guy and stop us from scoring. And then we had basically, in theory, 4 Frank Ntilikina's on the floor.
No, it was Bobby Jones. They had we touched on their team, previously, the 76ers,
right.
Bobby Jones and Clem Johnson, and it was my uncles and them. My dad is the real Knick fan, but my uncles and them, they love Doc.
Right.
So they love him. And every Sunday, that season, 1983, it seemed like they was putting it on people. They was giving you 15, 20. Moses and Doc would be on the bench, you know what I'm saying, laughing and joking and whatever. They were absolute for that one season. They were as good as any basketball team that I have ever seen. Ever. Andrew Toney, and we're talking about before the 3-point, 3-point inclusion, before 3-point shots, anybody really thought much of it. Because like I said, if you got Moses Malone in today's game and you're running 4-on-1 fast break, and Moses ain't going to the wing. No. He ain't going to the top of the key.
No.
He going to the hole.
Right.
Can you imagine what kind of fights you would have with that type of center? Watching some dude pull up on a 4-on-1, you know what I mean? Kind of like crazy. It's one of the greatest offensive forces ever.
Right.
And you'd rather go the analytic way.
Oh my God. Thank you, Boston Celtics. Because you remember, and I don't know if people remember, but Philadelphia used to bully the Celtics too. Right? They used to bully. And so what happened is a bunch of teams like ours, a bunch of young teams that had young talent used to get bullied by the 76ers. It used to be us, the Atlanta Hawks. You remember the young Atlanta Hawks? Remember Doc Rivers used to make the All-Star team? Rivers, Dominique Wilkins, Tree Rollins, Kevin Willis, those guys, they were young, but they were soft finesse ball. Like Rob the Nick, he said, calls it West Coast ball. Like some of these teams in the Eastern Conference was playing West Coast ball, is what Rob the Nick called it, right? Instead of inner city ball. And Philly was playing that inner city ball.
Well, I don't know if necessarily that, but here's part. Yeah, I don't know if necessarily that. Here's the thing, though, especially back then, people like to follow trends.
Right.
You know, what's the latest hot thing? How did that team win it? Don't get me wrong. You have to look at a successful team and say, all right, well, how did they pull this, that, and the third? But the level of talent that they have.
Right.
You see, you may try to do the same thing, but you don't got the same talent.
Right.
And Atlanta used to get into this thing where they would try and fight Detroit.
Yeah.
They would try and outman them. Right. You know, you put in this one, you put in whatever, we're going to put in Antoine Carr.
Yeah. Yeah. You remember Antoine Carr started in Utah. Remember that?
Yeah. I mean, Antoine Carr is a good bench guy to have, but their mentality was, we're going to try and outgoon them.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to get buck for buck with them. Why am I doing that? When I got a human highlight film that I want to get him. Yeah, I want to get him in the open court.
Right. Just run. Yeah.
I'm not doing all that with you, but they got into that and they could never do nothing with Detroit.
No, they couldn't. They couldn't.
I think they might have got to Detroit with a game 6. I think they got to a game 6. Yeah.
But the funny thing is no matter how many Cliff Livingstons and John contracts you have, no matter how many Tree Rollins, every year this makes me laugh, right? No matter what roster I look at on these basketball reference sites, it always says Tree Rollins 9 years out of Clemson. Like I could look at a roster today and say Tree Rollins 9 years out of Clemson. How long did Tree Rollins play in the league, bro?
I think he played more than 9 years.
Yeah, I think Tree Rollins played like 20-something years.
I don't know if 20, but I think he was on at least 14, 15 years, maybe. Off the top of my head. I mean, Tree is one of those guys. It's kind of like the original version of Kendrick Perkins.
Yeah. Man, oh my God, man, this dude played 18 seasons.
18. Okay.
Golly, bro, 18 years.
It sometimes when you look at it, what's his career numbers?
He is 5-5.
5-5. What's the best? What was his best 2 years?
His best 2 years, he averaged 8 points and 8 rebounds.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a child right now that you are seeing that is growing exponentially, growing like weeds,
right?
And you figure, he's gonna eat you at a house and home at some point, right? And you don't know where this child is gonna be. I implore you to get him on a basketball court.
Yeah.
Whether he's skilled or not, get him on a basketball court.
Yeah.
That man played 18 years, right? So you got to figure in team construction, why would a team want this guy who has marginal average number, not even average, less than average numbers at best. Right? Why would a team figure they need this guy on their roster for 18 years?
Right. Because he was the classic big. He is the Gray Hulk, or the mix of the Hulk and the scientist put together. Like, he's not the scientist and he's not the Hulk, but he is what happens when you put them together. Like Tree Rollins was the brute that was very smart. Like you keep this dude around because the dude could be a coach on the floor. It's the reason why I remember Orlando gave him all those contracts, man. I think how many contracts did Orlando kept them around for 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were the Shaq years. I think, yeah, these were the Shaq years, right? You keep T-Ron's around because he can teach Shaq little stuff. Like, hey, big man, you can hook him right here. The ref can't see that from over there. You know what I'm saying? Like you keep you. It's the reason why Herb Williams was around for so long.
My God, we may look at it now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not playing you. Once you've gotten to that elder statesman status or whatever,
right?
Outside of someone getting hurt and someone's having an extreme moment of dehydration or whatever,
right.
I'm not playing you.
Right.
You're basically here to be an extra coach, a tutor.
Herb Williams.
There's a lot that goes into some of these moves that we'll see that goes into team building, because you may need a veteran that has the respect. You may need a veteran that knows how to help the coach develop your young core. If you don't have veteran guys that's gonna outwardly extend themselves, take guys shopping, what neighborhoods and what places to stay out of on the road and things like that. That's where the Herb Williams and the Taj Gibsons are worth their contract. Not to play.
The James Edwards. Remember James Edwards?
Yeah. You need a guy, that's tough. That when they see this dude coming to court, you know what I mean? They already know, all right, the things we were getting away with him, we're not gonna necessarily get away with him. He a vet. These little 2-3 minutes he gonna play.
Right.
But yeah, so that's why a dude like that will last 18 years.
Yeah.
Someone that you don't have to tell how to set a screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Bro. Let me ask you this. Because I've been wanting to get somebody's opinion on this, and I just can't for some reason, man, because every time we bring up the conversation, the conversation morphs into something else.
Oh boy.
Has the small forward gone the way of the dinosaur? As we know it. No, hear me out on it. Hear me out on it like this. Here's my thing. There was an era where 6'8" small forwards could be the scoring machine, the Alex Englishes, the Carmelo Anthony's in his prime, the Dominique Wilkins. You know what I'm saying? The guys that were tall human beings that could flat out just score the basketball. And nowadays you hear the term wing player, or play the three, or he could guard the 2, 3, 4, and 5 instead of having your Sean Elliott, your Chris Morris. See, because nowadays you wouldn't ask Sean Elliott, Sean Elliott and Caleb Canales are probably the two nicest human beings. I saw Sean Elliott once. He got mobbed. People asking him to sign autographs. Man, don't you? He pulled up one of them ugly ass brown folding chairs and sat down and signed autographs the whole time. And I was like, dog, you must be crazy. And people just keep coming up, and he just keeps signing. He's tired. They would get. I'm like, man, you crazy, bro. Sean Elliott was like, yo, but you never know how long this opportunity gonna last, bro. I just want people to know I appreciate it. He's just saying like the nicest stuff. And I'm like, you crazy. You think I believe this smoking hot chick in the car? Because these dudes want autographs? I'll sign some, but after a while, I'm like, hey, man, okay, I'm out of here. Sorry. You know what I'm saying? I want to be the person that says I would have signed all those autographs, but nah, bro. Sean Elliott. But anyway, the point I'm getting at is I think the era of small forward scorers has gone by the wayside. Can you name 10 small forwards in the league right now that are scoring machines? Or can you name 10 small forwards in the league right now that are 3 and D wing players?
Well, the game, as we're rolling more so into more possessions. You see what I'm saying? More
Right.
possession. How they're attacking offensively. You see what I'm saying? It's top of the key and it's guard oriented.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's top of the key a lot and it's guard oriented. So your forwards and your wings, they tend to kind of like drift to the wing. You know what I mean? Like they're staying out there and they're electing to take more threes versus building off of a 2.
Right.
You know, those guys that you mentioned, how they got their 2s, they got them in a variety of different ways.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I think part of what, in your analysis, part of what, maybe what you're missing is what these guys have in their bag. Most of these dudes, the pull-up jumper, the 15-footer,
right,
obsolete.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? It's the way how you get it. When I used to watch Kevin Knox a lot of the times, and this is no knock on the kid, but not because you give me the ball on the wing above the 3-point line means that's the best shot for me.
Right.
Or the best shot for the team. See what I'm saying? You in the flow of the game, okay. You hit 1. You hit 2. Let's say you even hit 3. Maybe that night you're hot from 3, but is that what all you want to do? Is that all you can do?
Right.
You don't know because you're not attempting to do anything else. The coach says that's where you stand. Right. That's where you stand. To Obi's credit, in a slight transition, a lot of the times when we saw Obi get the ball in the middle of the lane and whatever, those weren't called plays. That's just him instinctually just going to the middle of the lane, trying to dive.
But he had to learn that, though. He wasn't doing that in the first year and a half.
Right.
Because we were breaking it down all the time. We were like, yo, Obi Toppin, attack the closeout. You look soft as hell, Obi Toppin. Because you won't even attack closeouts. You either jack a 3 or pass the ball back out. You won't even attack off the dribble. Right. And he started doing that. When he started doing that with his athleticism, all of a sudden he looked different.
It's like the game, it's not, you know what I'm saying? There's less free flowing, improvisation, you get a dude on the spin, ha.
Yeah.
And it's my point. I'm taking it right there. It's like when I watch Quickly's floater, a floater in the arsenal of a point guard, what it used to be was something in like the middle of the lane that you wanted to do over the center. Right? You get there, you're gonna land to the trees, especially if you were a smaller point guard. You needed a little something extra. You know what I mean? And Mark Jackson, I don't want to say he started it, but you noticed it a lot in Mark's game.
He created it. He created it because Fat Lever used to do the same move, but he used to pull up and shoot a jumper. Right? You remember Fat Lever from Denver, Lafayette Lever? He used to do the same thing. He used to turn the corner on a pick and roll and bring the big man out and just shoot a high two-handed jump shot over the top. And it looked weird. And so Mark Jackson did it and started calling it a teardrop because it was funny because no matter how athletic the big man was, Mark Jackson could just get it barely over the top of his fingers and finish with it. And it became a threat.
Okay.
You know?
So, slide back to the four or the wing player we're using Kevin Knox. It's like that part of the game in that area of 18 feet and in, it's gone to them.
Right.
When you got that kind of athleticism that you can rise and pretty much shoot over the defender. You know what I mean? When you give up the possibilities of getting contact and getting an and one.
Right.
Because the numbers say that it'd be better if you were spread out, and that's just not basketball. That's not free-flowing basketball.
But AD, but now you don't play in a shot blocking era.
Yeah,
right?
You're not playing in a shot blocking era, but it's like you're blocking yourself.
I understand what you mean.
See what I'm saying? Because you're going for points in multiple possessions. So the quality of the shot becomes less important because you can get more shots.
I understand. And offensive rebounds only resets the shot clock to 14 seconds as opposed to 24 seconds. Like you remember Portland, the Terry Porter Trailblazers, when Buck Williams would get on it would be the most disheartening thing. They would get the best shot, right? And Buck Williams, who I think Buck Williams is the realest man that I have ever heard of. Buck Williams is John Henry, bro.
His name is Buck.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Buck Williams, I remember Buck Williams got like 4 when he was with the Nets, when the Nets used to wear those ugly half uniforms with nets going down. You remember nets going down like
going down the side. He was good.
Yeah, he was man. Good. Buck Williams, no lie, Buck Williams got 4 offensive rebounds in a row against the Knicks, and it was like somebody was hitting us in the gut with a spike bat, right? Because the Nets they had geez, I can't even remember. I think they might have had like Albert King and all them guys, right? Mm-hmm. And so they would shoot the ball. What I'm getting at is Portland during the era had Buck Williams, right? Mm-hmm. And Terry Porter would shoot a 3 and miss. Buck Williams would get the offensive rebound, kick it back out to Terry Porter, and Terry Porter would back up with the backup dribble behind his back and call another play, right? And basically the play would get Kevin Duckworth a baseline jumper, and Kevin Duckworth would miss, and Buck Williams would grab the offensive rebound and kick it back out to Terry Porter. And it was like the most disheartening thing, bro. It's like the most. I would rather you dunk on me and get it over with, right? But basically what I'm getting at is this. Nowadays, you don't have guys that rebound like that. The rebounding is spread across the board. Most teams don't have a rebounding machine, is what I'm getting at.
No.
You know, so like how many do, like, I mean, think maybe now you have a guy that might average 15 points, 15 rebounds, maybe one guy, right? But back in the day, you had dudes, that was their job. You had Dennis Rodmans, man. You had Charles Barkley's. I saw Charles Barkley try to dunk on Cartwright and miss, get the rebound, and guess what? And then dunk on Cartwright. You don't have those. You don't have those dudes in the NBA now, bro.
Yeah, and Cartwright was a non-athletic big.
Come on, man. Why you doing my man like that, though, bro? Cartwright's our guy.
So if you caught him when he was flat-footed, it was over for him.
Yeah, he couldn't. Yeah, he couldn't make it up. Yeah, he couldn't make it up. Yeah, you couldn't make it up. I remember Benoit Benjamin dunked on Cartwright, and I just knew the Knicks weren't going to win a championship. You remember Benoit Benjamin?
Yes.
Benoit Benjamin dunked on Cartwright, and I was like, oh my God, just blow up the franchise.
From out of Creighton,
yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, him, and he played a guy that was an officer for me in the Army. He played point guard for on that Benoit Benjamin team at Creighton, right? And he was like, "Yo, this dude was the lowest IQ dude you ever met in your life."
Mm.
He was like, he was sharp, but he just didn't get it. Like sometimes he's like he wasn't dumb, he just didn't get it though. Like you would tell him stuff like, "Benoit, listen, do this over here because such and such is gonna happen." He'd be like, "What's gonna happen?" Like, "I just told you." He's like, "What?" Like that kind of, like he just didn't. But anyway, when I saw Benoit Benjamin dunk on Bill Cartwright, I was just like, man, just blow up the franchise, man. Just blow it up. Trade everybody, man. Everybody got to go.
When that player, who the Nets, what did they draft him? Was he number like 2 overall or something like that? I think.
Benoit Benjamin.
Yeah, I think he was number 2 overall, and I believe Willis Reed was in charge with the Nets at the time.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yes, Knicks fans. Our beloved Willis Reed.
That Willis Reed
once worked for the Nets, right? He drafts this kid. I think he coached Creighton, so he knew him.
Right.
You know, but Benoit had a lot of talent. Benoit was just, I never saw it. I never saw what they saw as far as it was still in the era of the big man.
He had the body.
Yeah, but I never saw the consistent game. Right. You know what I mean? Like I never saw something that made me excited about him.
You know, he was drafted second. I'm gonna name the number 1 pick in that draft. It's gonna make you laugh. These are the top 3 players. You know what? I'm gonna name the top 10 players in that draft. Number 1, Patrick Ewing. Number 2, Wayman Tisdale. Number 3, Benoit Benjamin. Number 4, Xavier McDaniel. Number 5, John Koncak. Number 6 to the Sacramento Kings, Joe Klein. Number 7, Chris Mullin. Number 8 to the Dallas Mavericks, Detlef Schrempf. Number 9 to the Cleveland Cavaliers, Charles Oakley. Number 10, Ed Pinckney. Now I could go on. I could say Keith Lee, Kenny Green, Karl Malone, Al Frederick Hughes, Blair Rasmussen, who was a good player, Bill Winnington, Uwe Blab. Oh my God.
Uwe Blab.
Joe Dumars, Sam Vincent, Terry Catledge. He was a good player.
Yeah, Terry Catledge.
AC Green, and Terry Porter. That was your first round, ladies and gentlemen. The first round of a draft. That first round is amazing, bro.
It's amazing that that a team would draft Joe Klein over Player of the Year, Chris Mullin.
Or Detlef Schrempf at Washington.
Like I remember those guys. Like the thought process that the big, you know, that any big, you know, and if it's kind of like the great white hype, you know, for heavyweights back in the day. It's like, all right, you big, you white, Let's go put you in with Jack Johnson. No.
No, nah. You don't wanna.
What's going to happen is that Jack is going to annihilate you.
Bim.
You know what I mean? And the same thing with how people saw the center. Joe Klein was not a good ball player. Joe Klein was a college ball player.
Yeah. Can I mention some honorable mentions in this draft? Honorable mentions out of this draft, right? Manute Bol, Tyrone Corbin, Hot Rod Williams, Gerald Wilkins, Sam Mitchell, Michael Adams, the diminutive point guard, Michael Adams, Mike Brown,
Boston College.
Yeah, John Battle.
What was Michael Adams? Second round?
Third round. John Battle.
And that was only because of his size.
Yep. That's it. Spud Webb was in that draft. Mario Elie was in that draft.
Yeah. What you're doing is you're emphasizing the importance of having people who can pick talent. And getting the talent pickers and the talent identifiers on the same page,
right,
to make the proper call.
Right.
That's what you're doing, and that's always been our problem.
That's always been
our problem. Like every, general manager that we had, for the most part, when they pick talent, you see, for me, Freezie, I'm not scared of a young man's background.
Neither.
Of what I heard.
Right.
I got to bring that young man in, sit him down, find out his love for the game. What are these transgressions? Can we move from it as an organization? And if so, my boy, welcome to the team.
Welcome. Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't care that you were caught with a gun on campus, and I don't care about none of that.
Right.
As long as you didn't do anything that was going to embarrass the organization going forward, I'm not scared of a young man's background. Why? Why would I?
Neither. And
I'm in the business of winning games.
And how many of us have done stuff as a youth that we regret and have learned from it and become better people?
Yeah. I'm in the business of winning games. You remember Pac-Man Jones?
I remember Pac-Man Jones.
Right?
I do.
He's on some new podcast, I think, with Brandon Marshall has a podcast.
Right.
So he said that Jerry Jones, when he got to Dallas, like after a little minute, he said Jerry Jones like sat him down and was like, look, you don't need all of these guys that you're rolling with every day.
Right.
And he put it in a certain term that Jerry told him, and he said at first he couldn't understand. He said, "Oh, these people that got him here, da 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 da." But Jerry was like, "Yo, you keep getting into trouble with these same guys."
Right.
See what I'm saying? Right. But him being the guy that he is and the talent that he is, how do you not look into it to see if that can help your team to your overall goal? I'm not scared of that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not scared of that at all. None of it.
Right. I would say to that is you have to have a culture that lends itself to supporting young people It don't matter if it's your bookworm or your partiers. You have to have a culture that lends itself to that. Because you bring up Pac-Man Jones, I'm telling you, the story we should be talking about is Michael Ray Richardson. Right? The Knicks drafted him and didn't do anything to help him, man. There were no safeguards. Right?
No.
Now, and Icewater NYC speaks to this. Icewater NYC is the expert on this. One of these days we got to bring him on because he knows like basically now the NBA has so many safeguards to protect these kids that is crazy. They even have traps. They set traps for cats. You know what I'm saying? Like the cat will get into a trap. He think he in trouble. It's the NBA. Like, hey man, we caught you doing this. Now, if we catch you again, we're gonna suspend you. Now, if we catch you again, and on top of this, we're gonna let all the other 29 other teams know that we caught you doing this. Right? And so what it looks like is the NBA is trying to be these kids' parents and all that stuff, but and players get mad. They're like, man, that ain't right. I'm a grown man. I'm gonna live my own. Nah, bro. Because
No.
when you embarrass yourself, you embarrass the league.
You embarrass the league.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
you
so
embarrass
in the NFL does it too. Like these things, they send the finest chick. She's sitting in the lobby, and you trying to holler, and then you trying to do all kind of whatever. And she go report it back to the league because she worked for the league. But back in the day, they didn't used to do that. Back in the day, that fine chick that used to be in the lottery in the lobby was not an NBA employee. It might have been somebody from down the street. And then now you, yeah, now you done mispractice because you in some room, you don't know where you at. Now all your money gone. You got to catch a cab in the most dangerous part of town, and all these different things that lead into trouble. Yeah,
because a young man with a pocket full of money
is a young man with a pocket full of money.
Pocket full of money.
Right.
You know, it's an intoxicating and you're just gonna have trouble with that. It's gonna come with that because the leeches, you know, Stevie Wonder could see you got money.
Right.
You know what I mean? As my man said in Paid in Full, he said, I can smell it. I got money. Stevie Wonder could see you got money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to hide that.
It's hard to hide.
Is it the league's? Is it the league's? Here's the thing: is it the league's fault? You see, if the league is gonna go that far to safeguard, as you say, and try and protect the player from themselves, how far do you go? How far do you try and infringe on that individual's personal liberties and what they're gonna do?
But they tell them this in the rookie symposium. How far they gonna do? They got can you imagine if Darryl Dawkins was a part of a rookie symposium? Would Darryl Dawkins have had those personal troubles and demons he had as a young player? Maybe.
Rest in peace, the late great Darryl Dawkins.
Yeah, maybe it's the cats like Darryl Dawkins is the reason why they put the rule in place about the kids coming out of school. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying Darryl Dawkins was a bad person. What I'm saying is when you go from not having anything to getting your first paycheck in the NBA and you just turned 18,
19.
You're inviting all the leeches, all the stuff, because as a 16, 15-year-old, you're dreaming about this one day of being a star in the NBA. But you don't imagine all the bad things that come with being a star. You imagine all the good stuff that comes with being a star.
Because you think it's all roses.
Right.
You think it's all roses.
Until you find out that you have to support a 500-man entourage, right? You don't go out and get a law firm to handle your personal such and suches. And sometimes when you get a law firm, you get the wrong one. Sometimes the lawyer, like even the town even the town I'm in, a couple of law firms got shut down because they're unscrupulous. Let me just put it that way.
They were doing all kinds of, to that point, that ESPN documentary Broke touched on it.
Right.
With a lot of these guys, the lavish lifestyles, the avenues that they afforded friends and family and women in their lives. I think it was Leon Searcy. Leon Searcy said he took his whole family on vacation, and not even his wife, his girlfriend's family on vacation.
Right.
So let's just say he took 15 people on vacation.
It's a lot of people, bro. That's a lot of people flying them out the country.
I think they went to Bahamas or something like that, from what the story said. Right?
Grand Bahama. They took 15 people to Grand Bahama Island. And this is in the 90s, right? This is in the 90s, right?
This is the 90s, right?
Oh God, dog it.
So we're not even talking about the paychecks these guys are making now, because back in the 90s, when we heard those numbers, we thought it was, the greatest figures of whatever.
Oh, he got $2 million a year.
Yeah. Right? that would dominate like a whole summer of conversation what somebody got.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to not as bad today, but back then it was like, whoa. Okay.
Right.
Leon Searcy takes these 15 people on vacation. All right. I think he said he spent like $200,000 or something like that.
Right.
That's probably light for 15 people. 15 people rolling with a superstar.
First class flight. Yeah.
I'm having lobster with my Cheerios in the morning.
Yes.
I'm not gonna act. I'm
even pouring my own milk. I'm having the servicers, the servants pour my milk.
You know what I mean? Because you a baller, I'm gonna act like you're a baller. Okay, I'm gonna help you.
With Leon Searcy.
I'm gonna help you live up to that baller reputation. Right? So he spent a couple of $100,000. So when he got back and he called his accountant, whatever, and looked, he was like, "Whoa!" But he said there was like an extra, I think it was 800,000 or something like that, or 600,000 that was gone. Right? Said he called the bank and it's like, "Yo, where did this money go?" They were like, "This money was taken out by I don't know what the lady name. Let's just say Fonda Ray. This disco legend Fonda Ray took
over like a fat rat.
Over like a fat rat. And took his 600,000. Yo, when he called on the phone, Freezie, he was like, yo, what did you do? Right? Because her name was on the account. She said, I saw like how you spent money or whatever, and she had to protect her interests.
Right.
According to Leon, that was the reason why she took out this $600,000 or whatever.
Right.
You can't be that.
Really, she really didn't have to protect nothing. She was just a side piece. She was just a chick. Because when he referenced her, he was like, "Yeah, she was my girlfriend at the time." And how many men can say the same phrase? Yeah, that was my girlfriend at the time. How many girlfriends at the time have we had in our life?
To protect the innocent, I can't divulge those numbers.
Right. No, just in general, just in man. And so, but yeah, man. Anyway, AD, we gotta go. I gotta go, man. It's 1 o'clock already. God, dog it, man.
Wow, we hit. You know what? What's throwing me off, because we started having our conversation before we actually came on. So that's what threw me off. But another completed journey, Captain Freezie. You've landed the plane yet again. We've had another journey. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining Freezie and myself for another journey of old school you know, we touched on some topics today,
Yeah,
Freezy. So
man, it was fast. It was fast, bro. It was fast. And
yeah,
just want to say something to New School Knicks. New School Knicks, y'all have no idea what y'all talking about.
are they still capping over there?
Yeah, they were
Who
on
is new?
yesterday. They was on yesterday.
Who
The
is
new
New School Knicks, by the way? Who are the members?
Rivera
They
is
sound like an '80s Backstreet band. Who
yeah.
is the who is the member of the
They
member
sound like
of
the fake New Edition. They the fake New Edition.
15 years in love? Why
Yeah.
this way?
Yeah, man. New School Knicks up here talking me to death about Carmelo. Bro, I already seen the Carmelo Anthony story 1,000 times, bro. I seen
He's
the
not coming back.
yeah,
He's not coming back.
and
Okay.
I love Melo, by the way, but I've already seen the scoring machine that doesn't win an NBA title. I already saw that story like 10 times before Melo even got to New York. Right? Scoring machine. Oh, he could have been scoring champ if they would have just got him more help. Nah, man. I already David Thompson, Alex English, George Gervin. I already done been through, you know what I'm saying? Bernard
There's a lot
King.
that's improperly used. We're
Yeah,
gonna keep revisiting these. No,
yeah. Just
no,
because he could score.
no.
Just because he could score. But anyway, sir, I'm out of here. It's time to get some
All
breakfast.
right, Nick
I've been
fan.
at it since like 7 o'clock.
Hardest working man in the business.
Yeah,
Uncle.
we grinding, y'all. So tune in next week for Old School Knicks. We got some things that we're kind of working on, like an agenda. Some things, guys. So thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate y'all, man. Y'all have a blessed day. Peace,
Nick's
y'all.
family for life.
Peace, y'all.